Aryna Sabalenka wins Brisbane title with statement performance against Marta Kostyuk. Aryna Sabalenka started the 2026 season in supreme fashion, seeing off Marta Kostyuk 6-4, 6-3 to defend her Brisbane crown, sending a warning shot to competitors ahead of the Australian Open. The world number one didn't drop a set all week, blowing opponents off court with her typical huge hitting, while also displaying more touch and versatility. She was once again comfortable in the final against a spirited Kostyuk, as she clinched the 22nd title of her career. The two-time Australian Open champion loves playing in Australia, winning 38 of her last 40 matches there. She will now head to Melbourne to reclaim the throne after losing in a thrilling final to Madison Keys in 2025. "Every day you go out there and prove your level, and I think this week I did it really well," Sabalenka said in her victory speech. Looking ahead to the Australian Open, she continued, "The only thing I know is that I'll be there, I'll be fighting. I'll do my best to go as far as possible. And do a little bit better than last year. That's my focus." Sabalenka claimed an early break in the first set, but Kostyuk showed her fighting spirit to bring the match back on serve. However, the Belarusian pounced to break again at 5-4, taking the first set. The second set saw Sabalenka grab another early break, but that was all she needed, as that proved to be the difference, with Kostyuk struggling to get a look in on her serve. Despite the loss, it was a positive week for Kostyuk, defeating 3 top 10 players en route to the final. She had beaten just one in the entirety of 2025. As a result, she has re-entered the top 20 in the world rankings. There has been animosity between the pair in the past, and like other Ukrainians, Kostyuk refuses to shake hands with Russians or Belarusians because of the war in her homeland. There was no handshake in Brisbane, and in her post-match speech, Kostyuk brought up the situation in Ukraine. "I want to say a few words about Ukraine. I play every day with pain in my heart. There are thousands of people who are without light and warm water right now. It's minus 20 degrees outside," said Kostyuk. "It's very painful to live this reality every day. My sister is sleeping under 3 blankets because of how cold it is at home. I was incredibly moved and happy to see so many Ukrainian flags this week." The Australian Open begins on January 18th. Thunder in Brisbane, Sabalenka's statement under the southern sun. Brisbane woke to heat that shimmered off the hard courts like a held breath. The sky was a polished blue, the kind that makes everything feel imminent. By afternoon, when Aryna Sabalenka walked into Pat Rafter Arena to face Marta Kostyuk, the air carried that particular electricity tennis reserves for moments when power meets possibility. This was not merely a final. It was a declaration waiting to be written. Sabalenka arrived with the posture of a storm that knew its own name. Her stride was measured, her gaze unbroken, as if she were already hearing the echo of her shots before she struck them. Brisbane has always been a place where seasons announce themselves early, and in this match, Sabalenka announced hers with authority. She was not chasing rhythm. She brought it with her, packed and ready, a weapon sharpened by intention. Across the net stood Kostyuk, bright, fearless, unafraid of the moment. Youth in tennis is not naivete. It is courage unburdened by memory. Kostyuk carried that courage like a flag, daring to meet Sabalenka's power with speed and angles, daring to believe that the future could be now. The contrast made the court feel larger, the lines sharper. It was strength versus spark, thunder versus lightning. From the opening games, Sabalenka's serve spoke first. It was not just fast, it was purposeful. Each delivery landed with a message, pushing Kostyuk back, shrinking her options, forcing replies that Sabalenka could anticipate and punish. The Belarusian's groundstrokes followed with the same clarity. Forehands cracked through the court, backhands cut low and deep, and between points she moved with the calm of someone who had already settled an argument in her mind. Yet Kostyuk refused to disappear into the margins. She chased down balls that seemed already claimed, redirected pace with clever wrists, and tried to pull Sabalenka into longer exchanges. There were moments when the rallies stretched, when the crowd leaned forward, sensing a possible turn. Kostyuk's footwork was light, her shot selection brave. In another match, against another opponent, it might have been enough to tip the balance. But this afternoon belonged to a player intent on making a statement. Sabalenka absorbed resistance and returned it amplified. She adjusted when Kostyuk changed direction, stepped inside the baseline when the chance appeared, and closed points at the net with surprising softness, as if to remind everyone that power is only one dialect in her language. Each game she claimed felt less like a theft and more like an inevitability. The Brisbane crowd understood what it was witnessing. Applause came not only for winners but for intent, for the unmistakable sense that Sabalenka was setting a tone for the season. This was a champion playing with clarity, not forcing drama, not searching for validation. Her body language said she trusted the work she had done, the lessons she had learned from past triumphs and heartbreaks alike. Kostyuk's resistance, admirable and necessary, gave the match its emotional contour. Every time she broke free of Sabalenka's gravity, every time she carved out a point with imagination, the contest felt human again, less like a demonstration, more like a dialogue. And in those exchanges, Kostyuk showed why her name belongs in conversations about the future. She was not overawed. She was simply outmatched on a day when excellence had sharpened its edge. As the final games unfolded, Sabalenka's focus narrowed. There was no flourish for its own sake, no indulgence. She played the margins, trusted her patterns, and pressed forward with the discipline of someone who knows how easily a match can slip if respect turns into hesitation. When the final point arrived, it felt less like a surprise than a conclusion long prepared. The handshake at the net was brief, respectful, a passing of momentum, perhaps, from present to future. Sabalenka's celebration was restrained, her smile carrying satisfaction rather than relief. This was a title won with intent, a Brisbane crown that felt like a marker placed early on the calendar. Here I am, and I am ready. In tennis, statement performances linger. They are remembered not just for the scoreline but for the feeling they leave behind, the sense that something has shifted, that a player has aligned power with purpose. Sabalenka's Brisbane victory carried that resonance. It suggested a season in which her game, already formidable, would be guided by patience and belief. It hinted at a champion who has learned how to let her strength speak without shouting.